Have you ever wondered if a night raid on a map is actually more superior to a day raid? Well, in this video, I put the standard day raid and the night raid map condition to the test on Buried City and showcase a specific loot route which is almost guaranteed to get you some fantastic loot, whether that's blueprints, utility items, grenades, or important items for the expedition, or even workshop upgrades. But before we jump in, who am I? Well, welcome to the video and the channel. If you're new around here, my name is Dan and I create Ark Raiders content ranging from trials and loot guides to patch notes and more. And if this sounds like something you need, then do please consider subscribing to the channel for all future content. And remember to smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. So let's jump into the first section then, which is the run criteria. What are the rules that I'm applying to this run? Well, I need to use the same loadout within reason. Of course, repair conditions, ammunition and healing items, etc. might be slightly different, only on the basis of the starting value, just so I can easily calculate profit versus what we're actually taking into the raid to begin with. We also need to make sure that all runs are full 29 plus minute raids each run to give us the best opportunity to be able to go to these locations and find the best loot. We also need to make sure that the same locations are looted every time. The order of visiting them will depend on spawn location to some degree. However, I do have a priority list which we'll go over as the video goes on. I also cannot go out of my way to loot any additional containers in different rooms, or let's say there's a bastion that dies or a rocketeer that's being killed by some friendly raiders. I'm not able to go and loot, let's say, Ark specific items from those particular enemies to try to bump up the values. I must make sure that I continue to follow the same route, within reason of course, and I can only loot the containers that are visible. So that's the criteria breakdown. Now let's talk about the route. The route is going to depend slightly on the spawn location, but I'll put an image on screen here about where we need to focus our attention. The rule of thumb generally for this particular run is broken down into 3 priorities. So first and foremost, space travel is going to be the top priority. The second priority is hospital as a location, and finally the third priority is the library. So let's start off with space travel. Personally, I think starting in this location will most likely yield the most value, especially if you start in a fresh raid and you've got a good spawn location. If you can get to this location quickly and before other players, it's very likely that you'll return very, very good value. The key locations are being shown in the footage here, where effectively I usually start on the lower level where the green lockers are, before heading over to a zip line through the corridor and travelling up the floor with the breachable door. There is of course a yellow bin, and there's also some double bins that are just to the right of the zip line before you go upwards. Those containers can contain even things like blueprints, which I've had on previous runs before here. So it's important to just check those before you use the zip line. Then we get to the most important room in the route, and it's effectively because the room is technically behind a breach door or a locked door, and it seems to therefore hold more valuable containers and loot overall. And again, I'll leave it up to you on deciding which room you prioritize first. Sometimes you can ignore the breach door first, head over across the corridor to the first room, loot all those containers there. But again, this is completely discretional. It's up to you on how you follow. Of course, there could be some enemy raiders or some suspicious activity in the area, and you're not sure about what's happening, if there's going to be somebody that's unfriendly, so maybe you'd prefer to breach the door first. It's entirely up to you how you strategize this, but the rule of thumb here is that you must breach this door as early as possible, get into this room that I'm showcasing here, and all of the valuable loot seems to be here. There's grenade containers, there are drawers, the blue drawers specifically, and then of course the small desk drawers as well. There are also some breachable electrical cabinets here. You can take the extra time to do those. I didn't always loot them in these specific runs or this specific video, but absolutely you can still get advanced electrical components from there. And I find in general those breachable containers within these rooms tend to be quite good value of loot as well, if that's something you choose to do. So beyond this door then, there is also the other option to turn left as you leave it, and of course there again there can be grenade containers in the open foyer area. There are also a few drawers and some bins that are around the rails as you see in the footage here. You can also then opt to jump from the top floor to the middle floor and effectively then use the grapple method, as you can see here, to lift yourself up into the area where there's more drawers, more lootable containers. And again, this is just based on personal preference. If you choose to do this or not, you can just skip this and simply head straight over to hospital if you prefer, but I'll leave that up to you. So moving then into our second priority being the hospital, and more specifically the red locker room. This area alone provides insane trinket value if all of these lockers have not been opened already. There can be blueprints, there can be grenades and other valuable items inside these containers. You can also spend time looting the blue and white drawer containers in the area if they appear unlooted, but I wouldn't prioritize these. There is a backpack as well which spawns under the first flight staircase, which I'll show here, along with various bins that can also be great value and sources of good loot and even blueprints, right? Finally then, the third priority is the library area. Now generally this is the final area I loot before heading out via the Northern Station evacuation points, and more specifically the green lockers as shown here. This is what you're looking for, and there are 2 sets of these lockers in this area. One smaller row on the bottom floor, and there's more that spawn on the second floor. Again, these lockers do seem to hold some value, but I found that they tend not to yield as high value as the red lockers for some reason, although that could just be some bad luck. So let me know in the comments below if you get any better loot than I did, but realistically this is why this becomes the third priority in comparison to the previous 2 high loot areas of hospital and space travel. So that's the route in a nutshell. Now we're going to be moving into more of a spreadsheet breakdown and something that I wanted to do here to give as much detail to you guys as possible. Now, we won't showcase every single raid in full detail, of course, that would be far too long, but I'll instead give this visual overview with details that you can pause to view as you prefer. But the aim was simple here. I just wanted to categorize the items that I collected in each run, the total quantities of those categories, and then also make some notes of any notable finds. So as you can see on screen here, there was absolutely one standout clear winner in the night raid category in terms of profit. Run number 4 brought in a huge 96,000 after, of course, minusing the loadout cost. Not to mention the fact that I did get a Wolfpack blueprint from a friendly raider after asking him if he needed an explosive mine blueprint, as you can see from the footage behind here. I guess this is pure evidence really that being friendly doesn't always mean that you're vulnerable from being shot first or backstabbed, as some players are just simply happy to help, and that was a great trade for me. More info on the Wolfpack blueprint later, by the way, so stay tuned for this. Also, totals wise, the night raids then brought a total of 265,000 profit. That meant if everything was sold at inventory value, of course, and that took about 40 minutes worth of gameplay. As for the day raids, I'm absolutely shocked at how massive the difference was. Not only in the overall profit, which was a massive 381,000, so an additional 120k almost, if everything was of course sold at inventory value level, but the runs themselves do seem much more consistent with a lot more notable finds across the board. So you can see, of course, I've categorized not only all of the items, but I've also got a heat map showcasing the profit values, and you can see that they're more of an even green on the day raids as opposed to the night raids, which I'll put back on screen here. The day raids actually averaged 1 blueprint per run, which I find incredible. I totaled 5 blueprints. There was 2 on the first run, 1 on the second run, 1 on the fourth, 1 on the fifth, and missed 1 on run 3. So effectively the first run compensated for the missing blueprint on run 3, and 2 of those blueprints were grenades. There was Trigger Nade and Blaze Grenade, which are super useful for both PvE and PvP content, so I was really happy that I found those on this route. And I also found that the trinket values were absolutely incredible on the day raid, and no doubt that the requirement for the last stage of the expedition could be specifically targeted using this route also for the trinket amounts that you need to contribute, as well as the fact that if you're just trying to build an economy just for pure coin value alone, I think that these runs, based on time that you spend doing them, can be a huge return of value. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what your results were if you do follow this guide or this run. Did you find anything super rare or valuable? Do let me know below. Finally then, that Wolfpack blueprint. Let's just play a little bit of a mini game on this video with a pop quiz question relating to the game. The aim here is simple. You just have to answer the question inside the comments. Of course, it has to be the right answer. If you do, I'll enter you into a competition automatically to win this Wolfpack blueprint. So of course, if you're the winner, I'll announce, of course, the answer and the winner in a few days' time, or when my next video drops with a community post as well. If you answer it correctly, I'll get your Embark ID, we can jump into a duos raid completely naked, and I'll drop the blueprint for you to take into your safe pocket, and we can just simply surrender. It'll be that easy. So something that I think I want to offer you back as a community or supporters of the channel so far. So do put in the comments below if you know the answer to this question. So what do major map conditions primarily affect in Arc Raiders? Is it A, loot rarity, B, enemy composition, or is it C, player extraction speed? Please make sure that if you're going to enter this competition, then you spell the answer correctly, just so it ensures I can capture the entry from the automation that I'll be using on this. And of course, good luck to all of you that enter. Finally then, of course, if you enjoyed the content, please do me the massive favor of hitting that thumbs up button. It really does support the channel more than you realize, so please do that for me first and foremost. If you're interested in more Arc Raiders content, then you do need to consider subscribing as well. I try to drop maybe 2 or 3 videos a week, so looking forward to more content soon. But thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and I'll hope to see you in the next one.